Welcome back to another episode of Control the Chaos Mama, where we do life and launch strategy for ADHD entrepreneurs and creative rebels. On today's episode, we're talking all about impulsive spending. I felt that this was a very timely episode considering that you probably snagged some Black Friday deals, some Cyber Monday deals. What else we got? Small Business Saturday. Between this weekend, if you were able to not impulsively spend at some point, then kudos to you because I know I got some deals. Anyway, so let's get started. Impulsivity basically is whenever you are acting without thinking first. This can be a big factor in being ADHD, and in fact, it can also have to do with our emotional regulation, that kind of high we get, or dopamine activating thing that happens whenever we get a deal, especially the scarcity and urgency that people do on the deals that makes us want to act fast, right? And so today I have a couple tips for you in order to minimize your impulsivity when it comes to spending and intentionally make choices with your money, to kind of embrace the fact that you can be good with money, to increase some self-awareness and mindfulness around the whole idea of how to manage your money, and hopefully get you some great buying tips when it comes to managing your money. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to go right onto it. I already did the episode on the Profit First, which is a new system that I am finding works for my ADHD brain. I did a whole episode on it, so go back and check that out. But one of the things I want to bring up again that he talks about is working with small plates. So this is that idea that you have smaller distributions of your money so that, we all kind of know when we're in the danger zone, we don't want to be withdrawn or something like that. And so this gets us to where we're on a small plate, and it makes us have to look for it so that we don't get those bank fees. And so that's one factor with Profit First. You use the different accounts to kind of manage your money. That's the same really principle around Dave Ramsey's with the cash, and you have the different envelope system. It's that whole factor that you have a certain plate or budget for different things. Now, go back and listen to that episode if you want to see how to use the Profit First system for managing your money for your business, but also just this idea of small plates when it comes to personal finances, or really separating out the allotment. It's kind of like, if it was all bundled up together, it looks like it is so much, right? And so then we think, oh, I have this certain amount. And maybe you found that. Have you found that whenever your account gets to a certain amount that you start spending more? I definitely have before I did this small plates thing. So I hope that tip works for you. Next is one that I've been doing quite a bit. So I also have an episode where it talks about saving your mental energy when it comes to, or managing your mental energy when it comes to ADHD. And one of the big things was deciding, making decisions. And so you probably already do this on sub level, but basically adding things to a cart and kind of waiting. And for me, this can be when I'm looking for a deal, or I'm trying to find the right perfect thing. In fact, this has happened so much to where I have actually bought duplicates before. Have you guys ever done that? Anyway, so go ahead and add it to the cart, the things that you're wanting, but wait 24 hours. Obviously, if there's a sale or something that is going to give you this scarcity, I need to urgently do it now, that's going to kind of waive that. But if you can try to make yourself wait 24 hours before you do the thing, it will help you to make sure that you are happy about the purchase. All right, and then of course you could make it actually harder to spend. So that could be a separate account, it could be disconnecting PayPal, it could be making it to where you have to get up and go all the way downstairs, God forbid, and get your wallet so that you can make an informed decision. Because that trip, there's plenty of times where people did not have the PayPal option, and so then I just was like, I'll do it later, and it never happened. So that's definitely helped my bank account. A lot of people do use cash only. That is very big with the Dave Ramsey envelope system. If you can do that, that definitely is something that could be helpful for you. For me, I prefer the Profit First of the separate accounts, but it is very similar. But I actually spend the cash I have, so there's that. And speaking of like being in person or at a store, do you find that you are getting impulsive buys while waiting or something? Like you're trying to basically get a dopamine hit while you're in the line. And so maybe make certain parts of the store off limits, whether that for you is a clearance aisle or some sort of, maybe even the checkout lane where they put all the snacks. TJ Maxx is awful for that. They always have these really cool like snacks everywhere and gifts, little gifts, to where you will end up buying more stuff by the time you get to the actual register. So these can kind of help to minimize that. I also think that it's important for you guys to realize the reason why we are doing this impulsive spending. It's not necessarily all our fault, right? Like we want dopamine. We like that rush that you get with making a purchase. And so I think it's important to kind of identify how or why it's happening so that you can see if it's a problem. And I hope that a lot of these tips that I've given you today can help you make a useful strategy for kind of tracking what triggers you. I have found that whenever I am emotional, or like say I've had a lot of stuff due and so I've lost sleep, or I wasn't able to somewhat do the things I want, it's almost like a way that I will rebel, in fact, of like impulsive spending, or even with impulsivity when it comes to sugar or food, almost like this idea that I deserve it. And so I think a lot of it is kind of not only restraining the urge to spend, but also in kind of doing this like gut check. My friend Michelle calls it like a body scan. Like you are scanning your body to see like, how are you feeling? And the thing is if we can actually learn to kind of feel through a lot of these emotions, then maybe we won't be buffering them in terms of spending or, you know, the sugar or the alcohol or whatever it is for you that is filling that like extra little like issue that we're having, like a problem, right? And so I think this can be a really helpful way of you kind of building past the cycle of that compulsive spending. And so there actually is a whole bunch of studies on this, on compulsive buying, and there is one on Psychology Today that I wanted to just kind of tell you guys. And part of this is so that you realize that it's not that you are flawed. It's not that there's something wrong with you. Like, why can't I just stop spending money? It's that it is really wired in to ADHD, and it is part of you. And so what you need to do next is just kind of build the self-awareness around it so that you can make some decisions and a plan to know like how you are. If you know that you are a certain way, then maybe you totally don't do Black Friday sales. Like you are not allowed to buy something, like almost like a no spending type of like freeze for yourself. And so, but it all starts with the self-awareness. Like, who are you? What do you want? And are you sabotaging yourself from getting there? So on the study that I was reading on Psychology Today, it is kind of like it starts with this impulsive spending or purchase that kind of activates this cycle, and then we get kind of they call it a buyer's high, where you are getting this rush. You have this dopamine, and that is increased with a deal. I'm telling you, I love a deal. Doesn't everyone though? But still, it's got to be, it's bigger for the dopamine. And then here's the thing is, shopping to dampen your emotions is not going to really fill the void of why you're doing it. And usually it has this big drop off of how you really, I think, self-talk to yourself. There's usually some guilt or shame or remorse, and like you're beating yourself up, right? That is where the buyer's remorse comes in. So if you are knowing that you're someone who does this a lot, check some of the policies when it comes to returning things so that you can kind of get yourself out of that. Also check to see if maybe you can do some of those tips before, like maybe the 24-hour rule or something like that. And then just know that you are totally normal. Like, this is a thing that happens, that is very prevalent, that this is something that we've been conditioned to do, because the alternative has been to maybe deal with our emotions or to try to fix the problem of our dopamine deficiency in some way, right? We are trying to, in a sense, kind of fill that. And so it's totally normal. A lot of people do it, like it's part of the ADHD for sure. And so I hope that you can gain some self-awareness around that and use some of these tools to help your spending. And so on that note, what kind of deals did you guys get? I am so excited to connect with you over on Instagram. And yes, we do talk about ADHD. We talk about how to control the chaos in our lives when it comes to our business and managing the negative self-talk and just doing all of these steps that can help us kind of gain self-awareness around who we are and who we want to be and what's in our way to get there. And I hope that realizing all of these things about impulsive spending can kind of help you guys to make a plan. But I also realize we still like deals. So let me know, did you have any Black Friday sales that you did yourself? Did you find that helped to give you some maybe dopamine on receiving money instead of spending it? And did you get any deals for your family or for you? And I would love to know. Share them over there on Instagram at angel.mcilhaney, or you can find my podcasting Instagram at Podcast School for Squirrels. And I want to leave you the same way I leave you every time, wishing you joy and abundance. Angel.